In just a few seconds, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, I warn you ahead of time. It's an odd question. But don't worry, though. There's no need for panic. You won't have to answer it until the end, and by then it'll make perfect sense. Okay then. Are you ready? Good. Here's the question. Are your tusks sharp? That's right. I just asked you if your tusks are sharp. You see, I told you it was an odd question. But it's a very important one. Why, you ask? Well, like I said, it'll make sense at the end. But for now, suffice it to say that the world is a dangerous place. That's reality. But don't take my word for it. Pick up a newspaper anywhere on the planet, and you'll find evidence that what I'm saying is true. Whether you live in a small town or a major city, the headlines tell the story. Violent crime is a sad fact of life. It strikes when you least expect it and are least prepared to handle it. In only a few seconds, your life can be changed forever. In order to triumph, you must decide in advance how to respond to acts of violence. That's where we come in. We can teach you how. The Threat Management Institute offers an education in personal protection, and we believe personal protection requires a solid foundation in two concepts. First, the Combat Triad, and second, the Rule of 24. Now, I'll discuss the Rule of 24 in great detail in a separate video, but for the next few minutes, I would like to explain the Combat Triad and why it's absolutely critical for you to be well versed in it, unless, of course, your personal protection is not important to you. Alright then, let's get started. The Combat Triad comes to us from the teachings of the late Colonel Jeff Cooper, the father of modern gunfighting. As the name suggests, the Combat Triad is made up of three separate but important legs. The first leg is skill set. Skill set is about proficiency with the tool you choose to use for personal protection. Colonel Cooper was referring to the use of firearms, and because it's a popular choice for personal protection, we'll use it as an example in a moment. But at the Threat Management Institute, skill set refers to any tool chosen for personal protection. And there are many choices. Verbal judo, martial arts, pepper spray, taser, mini baton, knives. The list goes on and on. But using the firearm as an example, skill set means knowing the firearm inside and out, its functions and malfunctions, and how to correct them. It means being able to shoot fast, accurate shots from behind cover and concealment, and from positions of advantage and disadvantage. It means being able to shoot while moving forward and backward, from side to side, while kneeling and prone, whether you're seated in a car or flat on your back. All the experts agree. These are critical skills should you find yourself in a gunfight. Notice how I said gunfight, not shooting. Shooting is what most people do when they go to a gun range. They put up targets and then stand still and shoot at them. They go shooting. Please don't get me wrong here. I acknowledge they're practicing, and hopefully they're getting better at the mechanics of running the gun in the process. But they're practicing shooting, not gunfighting. Gunfighting is different. I mean, just because you own a violin doesn't mean you're ready to play in an orchestra. It means you're ready to make noise. Likewise, just because you own a gun doesn't mean you're ready to fight with it. It means you're ready to make noise. Because gunfights aren't static affairs. You can't just stand there flat-footed. Not if the goal is to win, and that's what we're all about. So if winning is not your goal, you can do yourself a favor and don't listen to me now. But if your goal is to learn how to win a gunfight, listen, and understand. At the Threat Management Institute, when we teach you skill set with a firearm, we first teach you how to run the gun, and then we teach you how to run with the gun. Okay. The next leg of the Combat Triad is tactics. Webster's Dictionary defines tactics as the art or science of deploying available means to accomplish an end. For our purposes, tactics refers to the application of a specific skill set for personal protection in order to achieve a desired outcome. Continuing with our firearms example, tactics refers to the proper use of cover and concealment and knowing the difference between the two. It refers to using the terrain and elements and lighting and sound to your advantage and your opponent's disadvantage. It refers to understanding the safest way to approach a dangerous place or a threatening person, and if necessary, where to place your shots in order to stop the threat as fast as possible. If skill set is running with the gun, tactics is knowing where to run. Alright. The third and final leg is mindset. Mindset is the foundation of the other two legs, and here's why. Violence inflicted against you by another human being triggers a fear so powerful that it can literally paralyze you. You've heard of fight or flight, right? Well, there's also freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. Now, fight and flight both have their merits, but freeze is not a good option. That's why you must learn to manage your fear, and that's where mindset comes into play. Mindset is about managing fear at both a conscious and unconscious level. It's about knowing how to make fear your ally instead of your enemy, your liberator instead of your jailer. It's about harnessing the will to survive and winning the fight in your head before it even begins. It's not about the absence of fear. It's about doing what it takes to go on in the face of fear. That's why, although the Combat Triad has 3 legs, mindset is the most important one. In fact, it's so important that if you could only choose one leg, and fortunately, you don't have to choose, but if you had to choose, mindset would be the only logical choice. Understand that skill set and tactics are important, but they're nothing without mindset. Let me give you an example. You could give most people a baseball bat and tell them to defend themselves against a violent attacker. And believe it or not, most people in that situation would figure out a way to put up a reasonable defense without any training in skill set or tactics, if, and only if, they had the proper mindset. Without mindset, you could give them a machine gun and they'd still be in trouble. But with mindset, you could give them a tube sock with a can of soup in it, and they'd be a holy terror. And the only difference is mindset. In fact, if you allow me to digress briefly and put in a plug, at the Threat Management Institute, we believe mindset is so important, we designed a course for the sole purpose of developing it. A course that uses proven scientific principles and techniques to develop the mindset needed to prevail in a violent encounter. A course that will teach you how to harness the fear, stress, and adrenaline you'll feel in a life-threatening encounter so that you'll become more confident and powerful than you ever dreamed possible. It's a course we call Sharpening the Warrior's Edge. Okay, end of the commercial. If you're interested in Sharpening the Warrior's Edge or any other course that we teach at the Threat Management Institute, please visit our website. Anyway, as I was saying, the Combat Triad is made up of 3 critical elements: skill set, tactics, and mindset. If you want to be triumphant in a fight for your life, it is critical that you be proficient in all 3. Okay. I want to close now by sharing my favorite of Aesop's fables. Perhaps you know it. It's about the wild boar and the fox. It goes like this. A wild boar was engaged in sharpening his tusk upon the trunk of a tree, when a fox came by, and seeing what he was at, said to him, "Why, pray, are you doing that? The huntsmen are not out today, and there are no other dangers at hand that I can see." "True, my friend," replied the boar, "but the instant my life is in danger, I shall need to use my tusks, and there'll be no time to sharpen them then. So in a few seconds, I'm going to ask you a question. It's an odd question, but it should make sense now. Okay then. Are you ready? Good. Here's the question. Are your tusks sharp? That's right. I just asked you if your tusks are sharp. Hopefully your answer is yes, because your life may depend on it. But if the answer is no, I have one last question for you. Isn't it time you did something about it? Thanks for listening, and keep your tusks sharp.